Breaking news, the AP preseason top 25 has been released. No surprise, the defending champs are number one, Alabama, getting 47 first place votes. Number two is not Clemson. No, they were number two in the coaches poll. It's the Oklahoma Sooners who come in at number two, but both Oklahoma and Clemson received 6 first place votes. 4, 5, 6, the exact same as in the coaches poll. Ohio State, Georgia, Texas A&M. Iowa State a little bit higher in the AP top 25 at number 7. Cincinnati higher as well at number 8. Notre Dame is at 9. North Carolina at 10. Looking at 11 through 15, and we're going to break all of this down for you in just a second. Dennis Dodd is standing by. Oregon coming in at 11, followed by Wisconsin, Florida, Miami, and USC. And looking at the bottom 10 here, there are some changes down at 24 and 25. Now, in the coaches poll, Ole Miss and Oklahoma State were ranked. In this poll, Utah and Arizona State are ranked. So let's bring in our Dennis Dodd with the immediate reaction to the preseason AP top 25. Dennis, I guess the thing that jumps out first is that Oklahoma is up at number 2 ahead of Clemson. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I think Oklahoma being valued maybe a little more in the preseason. This is the best team that Lincoln Riley has had at Oklahoma since taking over in June of 17. And I think there's a lot of value on that defense that is going to get better. And again, going to be the best they've had. That's a relative term in the Big 12, but they are much better than they were and have been in the past. So I think it's that. I think it's Spencer Rattler is about to be announced as a lot of people's preseason player of the year. They get Kennedy Brooks back. They get the Tennessee tailback Eric Gray in that backfield for depth. I think this is a very, very good team. I'm a little bit surprised, I guess, maybe it's naive on my part, that Alabama losing 6 first-round draft choices, every award you can think of for coaches, and still the overwhelming favorite to be number 1. Maybe there's a little doubt there in Clemson.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is Alabama. We assumed they would be number 1 because they seem to be number 1 in just about every preseason ranking out there, including our CBS Sports 130. Why is Alabama number 1 other than the fact that Nick Saban is leading them?
Well, I think the fact that they're defending national champs, I think it makes that easy to vote them number 1. But again, you have to take a step back. Even with what Nick Saban has accomplished, that, all these national championships, 7 national championships, 6 at Alabama, this is the biggest gouge out of any of those teams. I mentioned 6 first-round draft choices, an offensive line that was the best in the country, and every major award winner, and really 4 new coaches, including Bill O'Brien is going to be the offensive coordinator. I'll just, put it this way, and I don't know if the voters knew this, but in seasons after Nick Saban has won a national championship at Alabama, he is 63-8 with 3 national championship game berths, and he's won 1 of those. He's gone back-to-back 1 time. So, them going back-to-back is not out of the realm of possibility. I think now you have to put a lot of faith in Alabama because they've done it before.
47 first-place votes for Alabama. They are securely number 1. But let's look at 2 through 5. You got Oklahoma 2, Clemson 3, Ohio State 4, Georgia at 5, and each one of those 4 teams received at least 1 first-place vote. How do we separate 2 through 5 at this point?
Well, the top 4 in the coaches and the AP obviously are the same. It's just a different order. I think significantly Georgia is left out. I had Georgia in my top 4 when I had to vote for our poll because I think the SEC is going to get 2 teams. I think Georgia, if they win the SEC, obviously, but if they lose that championship game, they're going to have a chance to get in there as well if they go undefeated in the regular season. They've got a lot more to lose than anybody else that first week, I would say, in the best game of that weekend, Clemson versus Georgia. Clemson can afford to lose that game, I think, and run the table in the ACC. If Georgia loses that game, it's going to be a lot tougher for them to run the table in the SEC, although the schedule is favorable to them this year. So I think it's going to be hard for Ohio State to be in that top 4. And I think they'll win the Big Ten again, obviously. Ryan Day hasn't lost a regular season game yet. But losing what they did with Justin Fields and all that talent that they had and the uncertainty at quarterback, it's hard for me to put them in the top 4. So I think that's the separator. I think I might have put Georgia in, maybe Oklahoma, and maybe Ohio State out.
Okay, so Ohio State 4 in the preseason AP Top 25, Georgia at 5, then you get Texas A&M at 6, and the Iowa State Cyclones, we expected it, enjoying their highest ranking in AP preseason history, highest by a lot, coming in at number 7. Do you give them a chance to be a title contender?
I do, because they were in this situation last year, not quite ranked as high, I think, at the end when they played Oklahoma, but they did beat Oklahoma, and they had a chance, obviously, in the second half. I think they were leading or made a big comeback in that Big 12 championship game to beat Oklahoma twice. What this ranking tells me, especially now with Oklahoma at number 2, if Iowa State beats Oklahoma twice, which is what it would take probably to win the Big 12, I think you have to consider them a top 4 team. I think you have to consider them a playoff team. And starting where they are, and even though the first CFP rankings come out in early November, they tend to mimic what the AP and coaches polls are at that time. If Iowa State is in the similar position, they can run the table or even go 11-1. But if they beat Oklahoma twice, I think it's all there for them to finish in the top 4 and play in the playoff. In regard to Texas A&M, nobody's talking about them as a playoff team. They've got significant issues at quarterback. We know that. They have to get a new quarterback in place of Kellen Mond. But they're going to be very, very good at almost every other position. They're calling the defense. They're using those words, the wrecking crew, again, for that defense. If they go 11-1 and don't have to play in the SEC championship game, then I think you have to talk about them being in the mix for the top 4 as well. They were at 9-1 last year. Obviously, they lost that game to Alabama. They've got the game at home this year. I think they're a sneaky dark horse for the playoff, finishing second in the SEC West.
Want to talk about one more team in the top 10, and it's the highest ranked group of 5 team. The Cincinnati Bearcats come in at number 8. That's higher than they were in the coaches poll. What does that tell you about where their ceiling could be if they run the table this season, like they did last regular season, even though they once again missed out on the playoff?
Yeah, their ceiling is high. They, along with UCF, are the highest finishers among group of 5 teams in the CFP era. They finished number 8. Both those teams finished number 8. Now they start at number 8. What's significant for them, for the Bearcats, is they get Indiana and Notre Dame on the road, not in consecutive weeks, but in back-to-back games. They've got a bye between those games, which I think is huge for Cincinnati. So they've got the schedule to try to kind of make a statement. Will that be enough for the committee? If they can win at Indiana and at Notre Dame, that would be significant. So here's another team that kind of holds the fate in its hands. I don't know if there is a ceiling for Cincinnati if they do that. I mean, that's 2 significant wins against ranked teams on the road. I don't even know if there's some SEC teams that have that. So that's going to be huge in their pocket. They still have to do it.
Notre Dame ranked 9th in the preseason. Indiana ranked 17th in this preseason AP Top 25. So 2 chances in back-to-back games with a bye in between for Cincinnati to potentially become the first group of 5 team to break into the playoff this season. Dennis Dodd breaking it down. The AP Top 25 is out. Alabama is number 1. Oklahoma number 2, followed by Clemson and Ohio State.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.